6:02.
Yes, it is.
Let's go. Ready?
Were you Celtics on tonight?
No.
Oh, I went to a Bruins game. Actually, I went to a fight to a Bruins game. Broke up. Good evening. Were you started?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the Board of Public Works. Monday, June 7th at 6 o'clock, Library Plaza. This is our first public meeting since COVID started back in March of 2020. Tonight's agenda is approval of minutes of 5/10/21, an executive session of 5/10/21. Items for action, annual reappointment of the town engineer, Rod Procasino. Items for discussion, all updates of 965 Main Street, Plain Street. Update of Marshville Hills Sidewalk Project, Dredge Spoils Harbor Master Parking Project, which was presented at the last meeting. FY21 budget status, which is quite involved. Thank you, Dan. Update of complete streets. Now that's an application of a grant system. Indirect cost and methodology, which we have all the enterprise funds. Status of infrastructure letter, which Dave Carrier had presented the last time, which we had approved. It's gone to planning and selectmen. Those are the items for the discussion. Items for superintendent's report update. And then our next meeting is June 21st. Are we going, I have a question on regular meetings during the summer. We're going to discuss it at that point.
That is up to the board's discretion. Normally, we would do one meeting a month
During the summer.
during the summer, usually July and August.
Okay, I want to have a discussion with the other members and how they feel about that.
Okay.
Okay?
I-
I mean, this is a team effort.
Yeah.
So, okay, and then we're going to adjourn, no executive session.
Yep.
That is the agenda.
Very good. I will second the agenda.
All in favor?
Tommy Bowl.
Do we need to pull the ball anymore?
No, you don't, since it's on public meeting.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, first item is approval of the draft open meeting minutes of 5/10 of 2021.
I read them, I have no problem with them, thanks, Anne Marie.
Yeah. I had noted one correction for Anne Marie, which she will incorporate, which is following a town elation.
Yeah.
We should have been election.
That's why it's there.
Well, because it's not election, it's elation because of John.
Yeah, that's what he just said.
Yeah.
Other than that, I
Can you put in parentheses, emphasis added? So is that what
Other
you
than that,
said?
I had no comments on the minutes.
I said, instead of correcting it, just put it in parentheses, emphasis added.
Yeah, right.
That's-
Other
Okay,
than that, I had no comments on the minutes.
Okay,
okay.
leave it as is.
So do I get a second to approve it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go to the executive session minutes of 5/10/21.
No problem.
I had no problem with it either.
Okay? I have like
I
a
second.
motion to approve.
Aye, motion approved.
Dave
I will
seconds
second
it.
it. Yep.
Aye.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, annual reappointment of town engineer Rod Procasino. I'll turn this over to the superintendent.
As you know, Rod has been here probably the longest now of any other employee in the town, and has done a yeoman's job over those years. His institutional knowledge is just amazing, what he retains and what he can let you know about very quickly. He's there whenever you need him. Tonight, he's not at this meeting because he's up in the conference room reviewing some documents that we need to act on by Wednesday. So he's up there. He spends a lot of time here in town. He's here early in the morning, he stays late almost every night. So I would highly recommend the reappointment of
So I
Rod.
make a motion to,
Well, but I'd like to add a comment, because in particular, not only has he done the yeoman's work, he continues to do it, as Tom just pointed out, and, I concur, having the unusual perspective of having worked for Rod as an employee, and then working with him as his immediate supervisor. Everything that Superintendent just related is absolutely true, but beyond that, nothing I have ever observed Rod Procaccino done has been anything other than in the best interest of the town of Marshfield and the Department of Public Works in that order.
good.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll have a comment. If, when you call Rod, he does answer his phone, he'll give you all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very good. Yeah, so,
He's
Well-
very thorough in what he does.
I was elected in 2002, Rob was a staff engineer.
Yep.
Walter Fender was the town engineer. That board made him the chief engineer.
Superintendent.
So, no, we made Rod the town engineer.
Okay, yes.
And the town engineer at the time, Walter Fender, the superintendent. There's been many superintendents that have come and gone, but Rod Procaccino is still the town engineer
Yeah, they're coming on.
Yeah.
since 2002. And I've said in public, and a lot of consultants have told me, you have one of the best town engineers in the South Shore, if not the state. So with that, I make a motion to reappoint Rod Procaccino as the town engineer for
Second.
another year.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wholeheartedly.
yep.
Unanimous.
Okay. Update of 965 Plain Street.
We've been plugging away out back here. We've got a majority of the unsuitable material removed, and we were beginning today to backfill out here. We put up the Jersey barriers, preparing to cut the asphalt in the parking lot. We need to remove some unsuitable material under there also. We've cut the trench for the water. The tap and sleeving gate was put in last Tuesday, and we ran a couple of 22s and extended a length of pipe in the trench, and we'll bring the rest of it out to the end of the parking lot and stub it there with a hydrant so that we can test that section and chlorinate it. The gas main will be once we complete the water, we'll begin the gas main. Hopefully by that time, we'll be out to bid on this project, and we'll have a majority of the site work completed, and the footprint of the building will be roughly 6 inches below the final grade of the floor. So we're moving along pretty good. We're getting a lot accomplished, and currently we're going through the sub-bids and scoring the sub-bids in the general contractors so that we can get this contract out to bid by the end of this week.
That'll be good.
And I think we need to point out that because you have a relative with GNR, which is one of the bidders on the general contract side, I am substituting for the general contract review for Tom.
Yeah, I have to
Yes,
excuse
recuse.
myself from that because I have a relative that
So the
works.
bid that's going out for the public, what is that actual construction of what?
That'll be the construction of the storage facility, the locker rooms, the mechanics bays.
And
And any of the appendages that go with that, the inside lifts and things, equipment for equipment.
So that's why all equipment will be inside during the winter.
Yes.
So that
Everything will
we
be
don't
under
have,
the roof, and if the pricing is beneficial to us, we do have a couple of add-alls. One is the section of the building that we had to cut. So if we can get that 20-foot back, that gives us additional storage space. It gives us more overhead mezzanine room also, so it's more storage.
we want to comment to the public about the fact that, when we were presenting this project in 2020 before the town meeting, at that time, construction for the type of facilities we're having built was at $400 per square foot. And the bids basically the more recent experience for projects that are out there have been coming in at around $600 per square foot, which is in line with what the state has seen with the Holyoke Soldiers Home. They had a $400 million bond for that, and they were looking at raising that to $600 million. And steel itself, I saw the other day on one of the business channels, is now up by 225% over where it was at the start of 2020.
And wood is roughly in the same vicinity.
Yeah,
too.
all building materials way up there.
Yeah.
So Dave,
Luckily, the problem with us is that a majority of our building is gonna be metal
Yeah.
and steel, so the cost is escalated.
Yeah.
There's not a
Okay.
lot of wood stick built in ours.
were we going back to town meeting for additional funds?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe we need to cut any more. We're hoping with the climate that the bidding will be able to include our 2 adults.
On the positive aspect of things, we have something around 40 subcontractor bids, I think, received, and we have 11 general contractor bids, interest expressed. They're not, this is the pre-qualification, they haven't actually submitted the bids.
Correct.
But almost all of them seem like they were likely to do it, and I think all but 2, based on the analysis of our consultants, were strong bidders. The other one, they were all qualified, but 2 were not as strong as the other 9.
So this is a 149 job?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were really concerned because of the timing of this going out to bid, that we may not get a lot of participation
Yeah.
from subs and general contractors. And we were pleasantly surprised, as Dave just mentioned, to see those numbers up there. 11 general contractors is really good.
That's good. I mean, for the listening public, if they listen to this, chapter 149 is the building contracting specification, where you have a general, and then you have file sub-bids. And the general has to take the low bids of the sub-bids and merge the 2 together. That's different than a chapter 30, like a horizontal highway job. One's a building specs, and one's horizontal specs.
They all need to be DCAM certified.
Right. So just, and Dave is our representative who's attending the meetings for the board.
Correct.
So, okay, good. Update of the Marshfield Hills Sidewalk Project.
Yes, originally it was going to begin the first or second week in June. I spoke with the tree contractor. He was gonna take the 3 remaining trees down today.
Yeah, I saw them working when I came back from hockey.
Okay, good. So they were gonna remove those today. We've taken all the logs and everything that have been left. We've been removing them as they've been coming down. So we've been taking care of that. Right now, because of issues with police details,
Really?
we missed a day or 2 out on Plain Street, so that's kind of set us back a little bit. So they're gonna finish that project. We chlorinated and tested today the pipe that was installed. So we've got a couple of days, we have to wait for that to come back. The granite curb is being delivered this week up at Old Main Street. And when there's a break, if they have to wait for the pressure test to pass, or that, if they have to rechlorinate, they'll leave from there and go up and start stripping the sidewalks up on North Main. It's the same crew that's gonna be doing both projects.
Okay, good.
So, we've heard from some of the neighbors up there in regards to a big tree on the corner of Prospect and Old Main. And our tree specialist has gone out and looked at it. He's gonna cut the leaders that are dead. The rest of the tree seems to be in pretty good shape right now.
Okay.
So we're gonna leave that there.
I would chime in, I have observed that tree. It is fully foliated except for about 3 big leaders, of which basically it's the outer reaches of those leaders that aren't foliated. Everything else
Right.
has leaves on it, looks like a good healthy growth. And the tree itself is huge.
Yeah, it's a very big tree. Also, at the GAR building, I got an email today from Fred Russell asking about a handicap spot, parking spot up there. And he sent me a little picture. I gotta talk with Jimmy. He said he had spoken with Jimmy and Sean before Sean had left about this parking space, this handicap spot. They wanted two, now they only need one. So I'm gonna meet Fred, take a ride up there, take a look at it.
Now, how does that screw up the alignment of the?
It won't screw up the alignment of the intersection, because I think the hall is back
Hall
far
is back
enough
far
away
enough,
from it.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
but I'll go and walk the site. We've got some time before the project actually starts. I can take a look at it and we'll determine what needs to be done there.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, the next item is Dredge Spoils Harbor Master Parking Project, which was presented at the last meeting, which we had concerns and asked for some kind of agreement to be made between the parties to be, the town harbor master. We looked at it from a standpoint of, you know, you're going to use the property that's under the control of the Board of Public Works, the DPW. We wanted to make sure there's a written agreement of some kind with some kind of terms and conditions and a sunset clause with the renewal component. I mean, as I remember correctly, those were the main points that we had brought up at the previous meeting.
Well, I think we're gonna wait for him to get other permits.
Right,
Let's see what the other permits are about.
So-
This is-
I know they had to go to conservation and I believe ZBA.
ZBA, right.
And you had asked me after the last meeting to reach out to council.
town council, correct.
And I reached out to him and he said that he would work on some type of an agreement. He said, you know, with a sunset clause, whatever the board wished, that he could write something up for us. It's up to this board to make that decision, how we're gonna proceed.
So we can wait until he gets his permits, and then we go into some kind of an agreement that, because in 10 years, we're not gonna be on this board anymore, but at least there's a audit trail of what we approved and how we approved it, and then what terms and conditions were approved. So that's what, so this, you know, my point is you give them permission, and then they think they just take over the whole thing, and we lose the ability to use that later on.
That's what they're gonna do,
I understand that, that's the point of having an agreement.
But if you,
if we agree.
I physically walked that, I'd like to comment on this, and, you know, this is a huge chunk of the dredge spoils area that's coming out.
Yeah.
You know, and he's adding 22 boat trailer parking spots. Currently, he has 70
Correct.
in his main paved area. You know, so, looking at what he was talking about for the modifications, he's not losing that many spaces, you know. And, you know, there's a lot of physical work that has to take place to be able to use that. And the other issue I had was, looking back to fiscal 2010, which ran into calendar 2010 when we were doing the dredging project there. You know, I know there were some back and forth issues with CZM, if I recall correctly, because they were still formulating regulations.
Right.
And did you mention that to town councils? I think I mentioned that to you.
Yes.
Yeah. And what did he have to say on that? I was gonna research it.
He was gonna research it, but
So-
I mean, he was moving forward with writing something up, so
Yeah.
I know one of the questions that we had here as a board was could we allow that use?
Yeah.
Well, he's not gonna strike it. I don't see how we could.
No, I don't think, you can't strike the dirt.
Well, the only way you
Yeah,
can strike the dirt is.
But
put
there are
something down.
regulations that require trailer parking to
Have
be marked.
striping,
Have
yes.
striping. So there's some issues there with other different regulations from the state
Right,
that need to be addressed, because if it's trailer parking, it's not striped, and we can't approve it. And how far is that dam wall, the wall that's there now? How far is that going, that's gonna be moved quite a distance.
It's been getting moved pushback along.
And we're gonna lose
Very
that
deep.
area that for dredge spoils. So if you're gonna move,
Well, the area he's looking to move back is basically at level. I walked it, I went down and physically walked it, went up into the Phragmites, beat the bugs off me and all that good stuff. And it's, that whole area that he's looking to push back is already at level, which means we are taking the fully level portion of the lot and pushing it back further.
Yeah, correct.
And that concerns me because, I'm not sure how that impacts us as far as operation goes. I have a concern that right now we probably are operating under a grandfather type situation when it comes to dredge spoils. If we make major modifications there and then want to pull them back, we could be falling under a situation where we have to suddenly become a landfill with a whole different set of regulations.
You got to have a site assignment and
Exactly.
go through DEP, and we don't want to do that.
Not if we can help it.
No. So I mean, this
These are the
whole,
issues that we need
So
to
there's a lot of
address.
questions in
yeah,
here.
this whole process is,
Not necessarily do we need Mr. Galvin's text at this time is.
Well, I think we need to know his legal research into the issues and his conversations with whoever he would be a contact he'd have at CZM and some others as to where we actually sit with the regulation now.
we need to work out a lot of things before we just give them.
Yeah, it's not ready for a carte blanche, that's for sure.
No. Okay.
In a way, by, making sure that all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed, they were kind of trying to fast track this, and one of my biggest issues is that I have a number one priority we're working on, and that's that building right
Right.
now.
Right.
And anything that is gonna slow that building down, I've asked, that it be put off a little bit and let us take care of this. And once we get what we need to get done and the contract is in place, then we can go out and start doing some of these other projects.
All right. There's a hockey game on tonight we'd like to go to.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
So let's go through FY *21 budget status.
So I've given you all the packets, the updated budgets as of today, and then there's a second and third packet in there. There's the expenses, which combine for all general fund and breaks down for each of the enterprise, as well as the payroll. Happy to say everything looks good this year. We got 3.5 weeks left in the fiscal year, and we have 2 1/4 payrolls left. And it looks as though all of our budgets are intact and that we'll have.
We'll be balanced.
We'll be okay.
And the collection rates are good.
The collection rates are good.
Okay, so I don't want to waste a lot of time here, so.
Right, I'm fine.
So,
with this.
okay, the
There's
next
a
item-
lot of work, thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to shortchange you, but.
No,
And
I mean, if you want to go through each side page, I'd be happy.
no, it's all good news.
I will say though, we did put a slowdown to the overtime
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And,
well, that's a big burner.
right, it's emergency only, and figures the last 2 weekends, we've had emergencies, so.
Okay,
We had
so
the fire, and we had the water, quite a bit of water usage over the weekends.
Okay, the other
And
is,
2 tanks.
Before we proceed, and I presume that does not affect any overtime that we would devote to 965, because that's under the project anyway,
There is no
right
overtime
now,
on that project.
right now.
Right
Okay.
now. Yeah, I don't-
update on complete streets.
Thank you.
Complete Streets, we have a consultant on board who's working with us on the Complete Streets. We're waiting on an
Who's the
opening.
consultant?
Environmental Partners,
Oh, environmental partners.
Jim Fitzgerald is the traffic person, so he's been working with me on that. We're trying to get both Jimmy Jackson and Tom Molinari signed into a class. Jimmy's got the first class under his belt, Complete Streets 101. I want to get Tom, and Sean was the other
Yeah.
prior to him leaving, so I want to get Tom Molinari up to speed
Okay.
there. And once we get that done, the consultant's working on the program right now. Once we submit the program, that's the first step in getting the funding.
Okay, I'm going to cut you short on that and just go to the next item.
Yeah.
Indirect cost methodology.
Yeah. I've looked at that. I have the methodology and I have numerous edits to it. I didn't have a chance to print it out. But one of the areas we need to look at is why we're not using the total town budget. We're using the budget What happens if you take the school budget out of the equation, the percentage is almost double.
Well, because the budget, the school's 60% of the budget.
Right, so we really gotta look at that, because in the methodology, it does say use the total town budget. So things like that, we need
So do you have a list that you could give Dan?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, matter of fact,
So Dan, can you share it with Dave and me?
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So when we do that, then we can
Yeah, I
look
have
at it, we'll go through the list.
Yeah, I had those edits done way back, but.
Okay, so I'll go through
That kind
and we'll talk about the next meeting.
Yeah, fine.
It's
That's
usually, if
Okay.
I may, usually the July meeting is when,
No, but I want to have a discussion ahead of time,
Yeah.
so that we can have a discussion with town administrator
Right.
and town,
that's what I was trying to do.
things. But we'll go through it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it next time,
Yeah,
and then we'll list out all the issues that we have,
yeah,
and then we'll have a list, and then we can go to the other side and say, this is what it is, and go
Well,
back and forth.
every July is,
I don't want to wait till July.
well, we need to sit down in June
Yeah,
and determine how we're gonna proceed, and then in every July is the opportunity for the two boards to sit down
that's correct.
and make any changes or negotiate any changes.
but I would like to try to do it ahead of time, not to cut you off.
No, no,
If we get John's list,
Yeah.
gives it Dave, me and Dave
Give it to.
took a look at it, we have a discussion, and we have all the bullet points
Yeah.
of what we want to talk about,
Yeah,
and then we have, that will give us a scorecard.
yeah, I haven't done it.
Once we have a scorecard, then we can say, these are the items that are in dispute. We can talk with the treasurer, town administrator, Tom, and Dan, and we go through and get item, what is not negotiable, what is negotiable, and we'll get back to the board and we go through it that way. We'll have a scorecard. At least we know what the points of disagreement are versus accepting the whole thing. We'll go through the points.
I'd like to attend the meetings
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think we can arrange a joint meeting with both the boards.
Oh,
yeah, we'll do that in July.
But the bottom line is, I think Tom was basically saying exactly the same thing you just said.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
good.
I think we're all on the same page.
Okay,
Am I correct, sir?
Yeah, oh yeah, and Bob and I had a conversation probably 2 weeks ago
Very
about
good.
how we wanted to proceed with this.
Okay.
Okay,
okay.
that's,
But we're all on the same page, and
Yeah.
I look at this as a team effort, everyone's participating, and then we put the scorecard together, and we come up with it, and then we have all our points, what we're arguing. Then when they don't happen that way, at least we have the point of saying, this is what the differences are. So when we meet in July, we can say, here's the scorecard, this is what we agreed to, this is what we didn't, we have a point of contention. Then when the two boards will get together and decide, how much of a fight do we really want? Which continues on.
well, it's the ratepayers' monies that we need to.
It's a taxpayer's money too, so, I mean,
Where is the taxpayers' money involved with,
Right.
with the ratepayers?
right. So the,
It's not taxpayers.
Okay, so the next one is.
okay, next one is status of infrastructure letter. Dan had put it together, Dave drafted it, Dan edited it, and we pretty much agreed to it last meeting,
Yeah.
and it was going on to the two other boards. The
It was
planning board.
it was on the Board of Selectmen's agenda tonight, I had seen. I did not notice if it was on the planning board yet.
Okay,
I had spoken with, and sent a copy to the town administrator.
okay.
And the town administrator had sent an email back to me saying that he didn't think that the board could sign on to something, and because they may have a different opinion of how to proceed. And I explained to him that we sent this over as a draft, and that if they had any changes that they wanted to incorporate into it, we were open to whatever they wanted to add.
Yeah,
And so that's why I believe it's on tonight's agenda, is to discuss whatever they may want to add to it. I've heard nothing from the planning board.
okay. Is the planning board,
They'll probably wait on the Board of Selectmen before they.
I would think so, yeah.
okay, so the last item, that's the last item under items for discussion.
Correct.
The next grouping is superintendent's report update.
I gave you the update on Old Main Street, Plain Street, the tested, complete streets. The only other issue is the tanks, Telegraph Hill and Forest Street. Both mixes were installed this week. They've got a couple little touch-up spots on the roof. They're putting the gaskets on the doors. They're gonna chlorinate it, and they'll hopefully be filling by the end of the week.
Okay, while we're on the subject of water, this concern has come up to me, and I think it's one we need to address through specification for bids and construction around our water system, which would tied to the polyfluoral Alteds, the PFASs, that we need to build documentation for all of our water work in Zone 1, Zone 2, that basically prohibits those chemicals from being used by any contractor coming in. Or if for some reason the only product available is that, then they need to have some kind of mitigation system by which they will capture the material and remove it from the well sites and the like.
Well, the problem is, there is no mitigation.
Well, by mitigation, I mean, if you're doing something, put a tarp down.
I get that, yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah, preventative maintenance.
Preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
The
For those people at home,
exclusion.
PFOS, PFOS, or
PFAS.
PFAS, is a classification of chemicals
Yeah.
in which are what they call as forever chemicals. It's usually in firefighting foam, and there's a couple other ones that the chemicals never break down.
Yeah.
So they get into the water supply, and it remains. And there's a couple of thresholds, usually anything over 120 parts per trillion.
DEP is 20 parts
Trillion,
per trillion.
parts per trillion
Yeah.
is a federal issue. EPA hasn't come up with a
That's
standard.
DEP,
Then
right?
there's a 70 parts per trillion,
If I might correct you.
and then there's a 20.
DEP, our state DEP is 20 parts per
20
trillion.
parts per, right. The dispute's been between 20 and 70. And it basically, it depends on what is the eminent hazard. So it's a float, and my point is, and I work for DEP, my regular job, it hasn't been totally agreed to by all the levels of government.
Right.
But on the safe side, anything that's 20 or less is a concern to us.
Our results that came back, we're very low, so it's,
Yeah, usually there's probably, has never been used in that area. The big ones are anything near Air Force Base, airport,
training.
like the airport down here could have it, but the thing is, there's no water supply there. But Westover, the firefighter academy out in Hudson,
Air.
the stuff down the Cape, so those are the issues.
Yeah.
We did have the problem with fireworks and perchlorates years ago.
right.
And but that at least broke down. These don't break down.
No, they're in the system
Yeah.
forever.
So the last item is,
I have one more thing
Oh, okay.
under my superintendent's report, and this is effective June 19th this year. We have a holiday, a state holiday. It falls on a Saturday. This year, they're giving Friday off to the town employees. My question is to you, how do we want to operate the transfer station?
so
Do we want to close on Saturday, or do we want to close on Friday?
no. I'll tell you what the state does. They give the employees the option to use the holiday within 60 days.
I don't know that we can do that under the personal bylaws and whatnot.
It's,
In the contract.
this is a new holiday, so they're allowing it this year for the employees, but they said they're going to impact bargaining the next year for the future.
Yeah,
So my concern is, what day do we open or close the transfer station, or do we just keep it open? I'd have to research that to see if the collective bargaining has any
so
issue.
my personal opinion is to keep Friday and Saturday open as just a regular, with regular employees, and give the employees that work 60 days to use the vacation, to use the holiday.
But I guess before we do that, my question would be to Dan. do they have the surplus in the budget to cover the overtime?
It would be there, yeah.
Yeah, it's there and
So, I mean,
so.
we have the overtime funding, I'd rather be paying them the holiday pay
Yeah,
and the overtime for the work on the holiday.
Fine.
You know, and that cleans it up, it's clear, and then we're not worried, Tom doesn't have to juggle people taking their time off later on.
So how do you
Which
feel?
is
So why'd you,
I'm good. I kind of thought of that about, I know when I worked for the state, you had the option to work some of the holidays
yeah, and then
and use it
60
somewhere
days, within
else.
60 days.
Or take the pay.
Can I just ask, like, what's the difference between this holiday or Memorial Day or Christmas? You know, like,
To do.
so if you give people the opportunity to work overtime on those holidays, then what's the difference in working overtime on Memorial Day or any other holiday throughout the year?
Well, this is the first year, since it's new.
But I mean, the issue would have to be that you would have to offer it for the actual holiday, which is being done on Friday.
Right.
Even though the Saturday is the actual date of the 19th.
So Friday, we pay them the overtime.
Right, you'd be paying them premium on top of their base pay.
Right.
John, you okay with that?
yeah, I'm fine, yeah, that,
Fine.
Well, I mean, have you,
we have money in the budget for
yeah,
that.
no, the other thing would be, have you done a sense of the people at the transfer station?
They're asking me,
Okay,
they
they're asking.
asked me,
And what would,
and what we're gonna do. And I
okay,
said,
they
"Let
didn't
me-"
express a preference, they
No.
just asked what you're gonna do.
And
And
I
I
ask
said-
one other question. So if those individuals are union individuals working that holiday, then wouldn't other union individuals not assigned to the transfer station want that opportunity as well?
Well, they would be receiving, if it's like a paid day off for those people, they would get the holiday pay that day
Oh.
on top of their
The
own. So they'd get-
on-call person
Okay.
would still get the pay.
Okay.
All right,
But I mean, let me ask this question, I mean, in a prior circumstance with this type of thing, you know, what happened was you didn't get, you know, you had the holiday pay, but that was also your day off, so you got paid for your day off, basically, which normally, you know, we have, I think 1 out of the 5 roughly typically
there's
is off
two
on
that
Friday
have-
and on
Two that
Monday.
have Mondays off,
Yeah.
and 2 that they work Saturday,
Yeah.
they work Tuesday to Saturday.
Yeah,
So, we could, the problem is that the rubbish is being picked up on
Right.
Friday.
Yeah.
So they need to dump.
right,
You
we need to
know?
operate the transfer station for
So
Friday.
the transfer station needs to be open.
Yeah, on
So
Friday.
we might as well just see who wants to work it. I mean, they don't have to if they don't want, and then we could reach out to others to cover for
So,
those who
so
don't want to
what
work.
Dan's point is, and rightfully so, if it's someone in the water, someone in the sewer, someone in engineering, we need to treat everybody the same.
Yeah, but technically, you have the on-call guys in water and wastewater.
Right.
So they're covering the holidays anyways.
Yeah.
It's transfer that the gates need to be open in order for the trash
That's
trucks.
the only place that has to be fully manned. for
Right,
operational
and
purposes.
then on Saturday, compounds the problem because the residents are
Right.
driving up there more so on a Saturday than they are
There'll be a
during.
hue and cry if we have it closed on Saturday.
Right.
No, I don't like.
Especially since I saw today, when I happened to stop down to the conference room, the number of the snowbirds were back in getting their dump stickers. So
Oh.
they're gonna be making their first run.
Yeah. So I see where you're coming from on that, Dan, and that's something that, you know, each department is covered with an on-call guy. So I think that kind of covers that.
Right.
Because they're gonna get their on-call pay.
Yeah.
They're gonna get their vacation pay.
Yep.
So, you know, and it's helping us, it's not creating a backlog of trucks that need to get
And
in.
basically, if it's something that's major, you're bringing additional people on premium anyway.
Right,
To
right.
cover the job. If it's another water main break. or
Right.
Another fire on a gas line in the middle of the road.
No,
Okay. So, you done?
that's it.
Okay. Next regular meeting is June 21st. Then in July and August, we go into a previous schedule. What date would you guys like to have the middle,
Before we
the one
move to,
meeting?
before we move to that, the one caveat I would put on the abbreviated schedule is if we have anything of significance come up, you know, between meetings in July and August, we're associated with
We'd be calling
965,
emergency.
we would be calling a special meeting to cover.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
so,
the other thing I'd like, before we, while we still have June 21 on, Tom's contract is into comment for town council.
yeah,
So that, we should be having an executive session on the 21st to close that out, because July 1st, actually, we need to close it out, so that he comes in on the contract, and then,
so
That was
do
my
we,
point.
do we need an executive session to sign this contract? It's just open session.
well, we don't know that town council may have comments we need to review.
Oh, okay.
And considerations.
So what we do is, the first item on the agenda, Tom,
exactly.
is do we do executive session for your
15,
contract? Then we go into the regular meeting after that.
Sure,
That way we get it out of the way.
That's on the 21st.
Yeah,
21st.
yeah.
And then,
The two dates that I see that could possibly work for us would be the 12th of July, the second Monday of the month. There's only 4 Mondays in July. And then in August would be the 16th. There's 5 Mondays in August.
Works for me.
now we have to approve the rates. Or did we already do
In
that?
August, we did.
They're usually approved in August.
In
August, so that'll be the August 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're just really beginning to get through the billing going out.
Yeah, okay.
End of August.
Everyone okay with that?
Fine.
Works for me?
Okay. Any reason why we should adjourn?
Bruins.
Okay. Having heard the Bruins, it's a good time to adjourn. Do I have a second to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want to thank you, Marshall.
Good night.
Okay.
Go, Bruins.
Godspeed.